Hello and welcome. This year, the Cambridge Lions are pleased to introduce to you our Cambridge Lions weekly update show. We are working on a better name, and if you feel like you have a better one, feel free to submit it. We'll certainly take it into consideration. What you can expect from this show is weekly interviews and updates about the games and going-ons in the world of Cambridge Lions sports. So this is a bit of an experiment this year. We're going to try it out and certainly see how things go. This is our first year trying this, so it will be a bit of an experiment. Things may change as we go on. But for now, let's talk about some football.
Cambridge Lions kicked off their 2014 campaign as our OMFL teams took to action this past Victoria Day weekend. There were a couple close games here. The Pee Wee Lions defeated the Niagara Generals by a score of 6-0, and only just edging the Orangeville Outlaws was our varsity team by a score of 19-16. There was one commanding win on the schedule, in which the junior varsity team defeated the North Bay Bulldogs by a score of 47-0. There was one particularly interesting game, arguably the most interesting of the week, in which our Bantam team took on the TNT Express. They lost that game to a score of 42-34. However, this was a game in which not a lot of people gave Cambridge much of a chance. In fact, some said Cambridge had no business being in that game, and they kept that game competitive. They stayed in that game and were able to make a game out of it. TNT had one player in this game that was an absolute difference maker. His name was Mitchell Giglio, number 34. That's a big kid that can certainly run the ball. He can play both sides of the ball. It definitely gave TNT an advantage in this game. But as the game progressed, Cambridge really adjusted on defense to play against his style. We've got those interviews coming up for you right here.
All right, Curtis, first game of the weekend. How do you think it went?
It went perfect. We just need to work on our defense, offense, stuff like that.
That being said, I know you're an offensive guy, but with that big battery 34 out there, do you think on the defensive side you adjusted well to play his style as the game went on?
Yeah, like when we started, we thought he was going to be big and tough and we couldn't tackle him, but we ended up, after his runs to the outside, we ended up getting him, and that's how we got him.
Right on. So you threw pretty well under pressure there. How do you feel about your own performance tonight?
Some throws I did pretty, and some throws were really good. I felt really good at myself, so yeah.
You had the huge bomb into the end zone there in that third quarter. That was a big throw. How do you feel about that?
I felt amazing.
Yeah.
The last play, too.
So what was going through your mind when that ball was in the air, when that play was developing?
I was going, oh gosh, is he going to catch this?
And obviously you did, and you get the big points for that. Bill said you had a great game this weekend, so keep it up, and hopefully you'll do the best for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Okay, so Coach Gary, how do you feel about the result of this game?
Overall, it was a really great performance. They executed a lot of what they had to do. They focused on a lot of things. First game of the year, there's a lot of things obviously we're going to work on, but overall, very proud of the boys what they accomplished.
Absolutely. So, what's kind of the game plan moving forward in practice?
We want to change some things on defense. I think was a big concern. If we get a big guy that we had like tonight out running on the outside, some blitzing schemes that we want to get him installed, and work on a few things.
So, Coach Kevin, as that game went on, number 34, that big player that they had on offense, defense, pretty sure the only thing you didn't do that game was throw the ball or kick it.
Yep.
As the game progressed, how do you, on defense, adjust your strategy to play against a player that's that dominant on the field?
Basically, you have to make adjustments to contain him because he is an athlete. You have to make sure you don't have one-on-one with him. You got to make sure your scheme is adjusted so that there's 2 or 3 guys that are attacking him and he's not left to be one-on-one with most guys. Great athlete, great runner, big back, hard to bring down, so you can't take him one-on-one. You have to adjust so that you got 2 or 3 guys leaning down on him. And it's just a matter of executing. Once the defense believed they could do it, then they did it. So.
And coming into this game, did you know that he was going to be that much of a force, or was that kind of a surprise from the outset?
A little bit of surprise. I didn't know much about TNT before tonight, so it was a little bit of surprise, but I mean, I'll know now in 4 weeks when we play them again, I'll know what to expect. So
definitely
a learning experience.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Football's a learning experience totally. So.
While the May 2 4-long weekend is typically a time reserved for visiting cottages, a certain group of Cambridge football players certainly didn't allow that from preventing them from practicing on the Victoria Day Monday. in preparation for this Friday's upcoming contest against the Etobicoke Eagles, as the team looks to defend last year's championship title.
Okay, Coach Gary, so if you could just tell us a bit about how this team is building off, not necessarily building off the success of the team last year. Earlier in the scrimmage you were saying it's a completely different team. What's kind of the goal for this team this year, and how high is the bar set because of the success last year?
I'd say the bar is set pretty high, but I don't know necessarily how much that has to do with last year's team, just so much as being Cambridge Lions, to be honest with you. This coaching staff's been intact for quite a few years together. We have certain expectations, and hopefully, you know, we'll start the season the way we expect to end it, which would be on a high note and hitting people and being very aggressive and physical. That's what we look for out of everybody.
Standing here with Jackson White. Jackson, what can you tell us a little bit about the season that's coming up here?
You know, I think a lot of the boys are pretty hyped for this season. I think we have the same expectations as last year to repeat and win. Obviously, try to win the division. We've got some tough games, Essex, Mississauga. It should be a good year. I'm looking forward to it.
So you know where the bar sits, and you know that it's not necessarily going to be an easy road along the way. As you mentioned, you got some hurdles with Essex, Mississauga. Now, with some guys graduating out from that team last year, how do you see that translating with some new guys coming in? How do you look to maintain your success on offense?
You know, I think we've got some big game breakers in Gordon Land. He came new. Some other Kitchener kids that have been really good for us. I hope they can contribute. I mean, no one's going to Salachev and those guys last year. I mean, I don't think we can place them, but I think as a team we can place those guys for individuals.
Jared, what can we expect out of this JV defense this year?
We're fast this year, I think. There's some big guys we're missing, but I think new guys from Kitchener like Ben and Chacon, they're really going to step up this year, I think.
So you got, are there some speedy guys coming in that's looking to help out on the back end?
Yeah, we switched Ben Slinger from receiver. He's on the outside. He looks good. He looks fresh, but he's good.
All right, well, hopefully we get to see that play out well for you guys in action. Good luck this season.
Thanks.
In our second weekend of OMFL action, as you can see, our Bantams will be taking on the Niagara Generals on Saturday at 11 a.m. Our varsity team is also playing on Saturday. However, that game is being played in Vaughan against the Vaughan Rebels. That will take place at 6 p.m. On Sunday, we've got our Pee-wees versus the Essex Ravens at 12:30. And we also have our junior varsity versus the Twin City Predators at 3 p.m. on Sunday. As you can see, we've got a busy weekend coming up in both the OV and OM, so you'll definitely want to come out to the Jacob Hessler Field to cheer on your Lions teams. And now let's take a look at what our OVFL players are up to this weekend. If you'll notice, the Bantam players actually have the late game, taking on the Hamilton Ironmen at 8 p.m. Junior varsity takes on the Etobicoke Eagles at 5:30. And the varsity guys have the early game also against the Etobicoke Eagles at 3 p.m.
Thank you for tuning in to the first edition of the Lions Weekly Update Show. If you have any suggestions for segments or any other suggestions, we'd love to hear your feedback. We are also looking for a jingle, so if you're musically inclined or you have a parent who's musically inclined and does some of their own recording, tell them to make us a quick little jingle for our opening that we'll certainly use and consider. So looking for a suggestion for a name for the show, so if you have one, send it our way. We'll certainly take a look at it. Be sure to check out our website, add us on Facebook, or follow us on Twitter at CMFA Lions. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you out on the field.